is a news show.
Sup, Nation? Hope you're having an awesome Thursday. My name, of course, is Philip DeFranco, and this is where I talk about news-attached stuff and things that matter to me today. And the last thing I want to talk about today is a story of power and slippery slopes. And 90% of the time, I'll go, yeah, okay, I'm a little bit of a cynic. 10% of the time, I'll go, no, I'm a realist. Whenever we talk about new laws, whether it be like the access to the internet, it being free and open, the rights of people, the government getting new powers, that is a time we have to look at those things and go, okay, but like, how are you really going to use it? You want to make so-called internet fast lanes, but what you're really saying is you want to be able to put people in slow lanes. We want to bypass some legal processes and basic human freedoms, but guys, it's okay because terrorism. I mean, how could you be against that? It's not something that's for you, it's for terrorists. You're not a terrorist, right? You have nothing to hide. Today, there was news and a report that showed, maybe the cynics have a point. One of the most recent examples was a power granted by the Patriot Act. It's called the sneak and peek, which sounds either adorable or very, very creepy. This provision allows investigators to conduct searches without informing the target of the search. And a sneak and peek warrant is also referred to as a covert warrant. The reason being is it authorizes law enforcement to physically enter private premises without the owner or occupant's permission or knowledge. And then they can just go through everything. One of the most notorious examples of this, in 2010, federal investigators went into a house with one of these covert warrants, and then they just trashed the place to make it look like a burglary. One of the other reasons it was very confusing this was in the Patriot Act was the federal government already had this power for national security, and they said the reason they were putting this through was for national security. We gotta stop the terrorists. But what we've seen since 9/11 and the passing of the Patriot Act is just what the critics said was gonna happen. From September 2001 to April 2013, there was only 47 of these issued. Then in 2010, there were 3,970 requests. And then just 3 years later, 2013, 11,129 requests. Which makes you think like, wow, how much terrorist activity is there? Turns out not that much. While defenders of the Patriot Act said it was for terrorism and critics said it's far too vague and is most likely going to be abused, while there were 6,775 requests, only 31 of them were used for terrorist cases. That's 0.5%. And that pattern continues. In 2012, it's 0.6%, then in 2013, back to 0.5. And so instead of it being to combat terrorism, what it ended up actually being was an everyday tool for the war on drugs. Out of that previously mentioned 11,129 requests in 2013, 9,401 of them were for drugs. So for some reason, the police suspected you. They were allowed to just break into your house without your knowledge that anyone had actually been there and just do as they wish, which is a big deal for two reasons. One, just general personal privacy. And two, anytime there is going to be a change and someone's like, look at this, it's kind of vague, it is a slippery slope. And other people argue, well, what do you have to be worried about? Are you a terrorist? No, they're obviously not going to use it for that. The answer is usually, yeah, they'll probably end up doing that because once you get power, you usually use power. Everyone's heard the devil's in the details, but it's also in the lack of details and non-specific. And Nation, I think it's on that note that I'll end today's PDS.